All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Ah, the Matrix trilogy, one of the most successful film franchises ever, and it launched Keanu Reeves into a different stratosphere and helped make it possible for him to create this.
You owe me a life.
Man of Tai Chi, a bone-crushing, straight-up martial arts flick, and the first feature to be directed by Keanu. Of course, Keanu, born in Lebanon, raised in Toronto, identifies as Canadian. He proved he could fight like a Hong Kong action star and looked pretty awesome doing it in those Matrix films. And while early on, he made his mark in indie cool dramas like River's Edge and My Own Private Idaho, and the historical documentary Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and the subsequent Bogus Journey.
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Neo and the Matrix will always be part of his legacy. And here's something. The guy who taught Keanu the moves to lay waste to all those Matrix agents, his co-star in The Man of Tai Chi, Tiger Chen.
Finish him!
What an absolute pleasure to say these words. Please welcome Keanu Reeves. Young man. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing good today.
You doing well?
Yeah, doing good.
Largely, is it an everyday thing?
I'm doing good every day?
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, every day that I'm here, I'm glad to be here. It's always nice when the eyes open and you're in the world.
Yeah, it's true. Well, and it's very easy to not be in the world, isn't it? You can,
It's very easy.
but you can't do that when you're directing a film, I suppose.
No. When you wake up in the morning and you're directing, not only is it your eyes, it's everybody else's eyes. It's everybody else's life.
Trained on you, though, for a big part of it.
Yeah, but you're trained on them, you know? It's one of the things that I really enjoyed about directing Men of Tai Chi was the responsibility.
It's one of the things that can happen, too, if you become a star, that people don't know how to collaborate with you a lot. And so, I mean, this would put you in a really interesting position where you really get into this. Like, people can be honest with you because they care as much as you do.
Yeah, I don't know. I find in my career, I've had a lot of people disagree with me. But I'm okay with that. And I think, you know, I think that's part of the collaboration. You know, it's like, I have to understand what you're thinking and feeling. You know, if you're acting in the piece, if you're the production designer, you know, it's this collaboration of ideas. And as long as you know that I'm always right, it's great.
Right.
It's perfect.
What happens if I don't know that?
Then we have to talk longer.
Is it like, let's meet in private?
Yeah, then we're just, okay, come with me, and let me just show you.
But in this film, you're also the super villain that you're in, and so when you're directing somebody and they also see you as the villain.
Yeah.
Do you ever accidentally keep villain voice on when you're, because it's a villain voice.
It is a villain voice. Donica, yeah, Mephistopheles, the Dark Force, the Dark Master. Yeah, I mean, there is a little bit, the distance gets a little wider when you're playing Dom. When I was playing Donica, instead of like, the kind of personal space would be like a little, people would just be like a little, you wouldn't lean forward on Donica.
Donica?
No, when I was Donica, you'd probably sit back there.
Who knows what kind of punch I would get.
Yeah, I wouldn't need to punch you.
True. There's a line which I'll think of for a long time, which is, "You owe me a life."
You owe me a life.
Which is such a great, and it's not in a nice way.
No.
It's such a great line.
Yeah, it's very bold, that line, to say that you owe me a life. And there's something about villains that they want so much, they want to take so much, that even your own life or whatever demand that they have, they expect. And when you thwart that, you get, you know, the violence.
Well, there's a theme here that, even not as a fighter, but people can relate to, because I think society has constructed us in a way to be like this. But the better he got as a fighter, the worse he got as a person.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the fights change. You know, like, there's a scene where he gets disqualified. It's a scene where, I mean, the action was so strong.
Right.
And if it were a North American sport,
right,
that was the moment when he would become a hero.
He's the man.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in this culture that you're talking about, it's like, oh my God, what?
Yeah.
And so he becomes a worse person.
So he's letting go of his best self for for one, his own kind of dark passion to fight, to want to have power. But he's using it as like, you know, but I have to take care of the temple. I have to take care of my parents. I have to take care of my master. And so, you know, it's called, you know, Man of Tai Chi. And there's these things that we oftentimes, we have responsibilities. And so we'll make sacrifices, you know, or we'll be attracted to something and we'll make sacrifices to get something. And the film is kind of promoting the idea that we have to be thoughtful about that. You know, that you can sometimes sacrifice yourself, that you think it's for the good, but maybe there's another way.
Is it something you can relate to at all?
Does it sound personal? It is.
It often is.
It often is, yes, of course. And, you know, I collaborated on the story with the writer and with Chen, and it is personal. I mean, it is a part of my worldview in terms of storytelling.
I know guys who've made films there, and maybe you didn't have this experience, but making a film in China, you had to deal with the government. There was censorship, and there was all these other issues. Did you have to go through that process?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah? Absolutely. They don't have a ratings system in mainland China. So the idea is that films have to be able to be seen by all ages. So, you know, there's no PG-13 or R or anything like that. And then there's content. Obviously, you know, the censorship has content issues. For my story, listen to me, like a director. My story, it's not my story, it's our story. I had to take down some of the violence. So I had one sequence where the lead punched someone in the head 11 times. So we made it 5.
And that's enough.
And that was okay. I got the story across.
People, we're so weird, aren't we, people? You can hit them 5.
Yeah.
11 is gratuitous.
That's gratuitous, too much. And then another one was 32, and that went to 17. And then the one that was interesting, because, you know, people say, well, what are the challenges, you know, with say, the language? To me, that was an opportunity. It's always about communication. And as long as that was okay. And so in terms of SARFT and the review of the picture, they didn't want to have, in the film I had there's underground fighting. So they didn't want underground fighting in mainland China, in the capital of China. So in Beijing, there's no underground fighting. And there's no corrupt police officers. So, which is true in Canada as well.
Right.
And so we had to go to Hong Kong. Because it's okay in Hong Kong.
Because the British had it.
Yeah, because the British had it. Corrupt. And you know that in Canada as well.
Right.
But that opened up the story. You know, for me, I took that event. And so now the film takes place in Beijing and Hong Kong, and that opened up the world.
I know you're a curious guy, but I never really knew it to the extent until I watched your documentary. You know, side by side, exploring the kinds of questions, the amount of talent you were with, not just directors, but cinematographers. Did you take some of that into the making of this film?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It was, when I think about it, I think that I was entering, with Man of Tai Chi and directing, I was entering this forest, and having had the experience of working on side by side.
Which is a doc that talks about digital versus analog and special effects and all of that.
Yeah. I kind of knew more about the forest I was walking into.
Here's a clip from that one, too. Here's, I think it's you and James Cameron.
Oh, thanks.
Presenting complete unreality and making them feel like it's real.
When was it ever real? There was a kind of a wall there and nothing over there. There was 30 people standing around. There's a guy with a boom mic. There's another guy up on a ladder with his ass crack hanging out. There's fake rain. Your street night exterior New York was a day interior Burbank. What was ever real?
I love that idea, right?
Yeah.
You have to accept that.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to make film, if you go in too literally, that's what I took from it. If you go in too literally, you're just going to limit yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And part of that, though, for me, in watching that back, is that I was speaking about the nostalgia of photochemical film as being something that could really capture. So I had a faith and a belief as an audience that if it was made on film, it was real. But when I think of something that's on digital, all of a sudden, immediately, I don't trust it as being real. because I know that it can be manipulated instantly.
Let's time travel for a second. Look at this one. This is a beautiful piece.
No, I find out you're lying. You're just a punk crook.
Maybe I should move out. I can't see any reason to stay here.
Maybe you should.
You just want me out of here so you can keep this dump.
Go on, get out. See how you like it out there on your own.
If I go, I'm gone for good.
Good.
As real a conversation as one can have.
Yeah. That was an amazing experience for me doing that.
Is it One Step Away, is that what it's called?
Yeah, NFB. It was one of the first jobs I had, and when we were shooting that project, I remember we were shooting for like 22 hours, you know, and it was like, I loved it. I loved that we had to get into the can and that we had to shoot, and that was movie making, you know. It was really kind of where I started, and I think that's carried through in terms of my work ethic. Sometimes people who haven't gone through that, they're like, you know, we've been here for 15 hours, and I'm like, 15 hours? What else are we doing? You know?
Listen, he works harder on the weekends with the man that we're about to bring out. So his co-star in Man of Tai Chi, the man that I call Tiger, Chen, right after this. That's right, Tiger's the man who helped teach Keanu to be such a badass. Enter the Tiger. Next. Back here on the program, we're hanging out with Keanu Reeves. Before we bring out your co-star and really the guy who takes the brunt of the beating in this movie, Man of Tai Chi, you first met him on The Matrix. Tell me about when you got to work with him, what that experience was like for you. Yeah, sure. It was 1997. I was starting training on the first Matrix. We started 4 months before we started filming to get to learn movie kung fu. The action director is a very famous choreographer named Yuen Wu-ping, and on his team was a stuntman. I met him as Tiger Chen. Yeah. And there he was. And then the first day, they ended up doing a demonstration, and Tiger did a demonstration of some of his martial arts, and I had never seen anything like that up close. Let's bring him out. Please say hello to Tiger Chen. What a pleasure, man. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a seat. What do you remember from that day when you guys first met?
He cannot move.
Yeah, I couldn't move.
You couldn't move? He cannot move.
No, I had neck surgery. Yeah. So I had a plate put in my neck. I have a fusion. So that must have been very interesting then. Like, you're gonna teach this guy movie kung fu.
Like, you know, can you move it? He said, yes, like this.
What's interesting about this story is the purity of that particular style, and how it shouldn't be, you know, sullied in any way. Talk about that and how important it is to honor the style, you know, Tai Chi.
Tai Chi is kind of, you know, traditional martial art style, internal martial art. But a lot of people in these days, they think Tai Chi was just for healthy. Yeah. Because you know, when you're training in Tai Chi, it kind of goes slow, smooth, calm. But they didn't see when the Tai Chi fight is the same as another martial art. They have a hard style too. So.
In my neighborhood, if I'm up early enough, which is hopefully not too often, but I'll be up early and I'll see people in the park practicing. Yes. And it actually looks really beautiful and it looks poetic in a way.
You don't want to just run down and fight them?
No. They're 80, so I can't. Although, you know, next time that happens, I'm gonna say blame it on Keanu. Right. That's what I'm gonna do.
Some hard style.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, the fight, you don't see that part of it too often, right?
Yeah, but Tai Chi also have a hard style too. So, you know, there's part for fight and there is part for healthy. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it depends which way you want.
You know, we were talking about this in the first part, that in the film, the better a fighter he becomes, the more he loses his humanity. Is it true in the style that the better you become in the hard style, that you maybe lose some of that other sense of you?
I think so, yeah. Because, you know, harder you want is like you want to, hit people. You want to go, fight with people. But in our traditional way, Chinese martial art is that the biggest opponent is yourself. You don't want to go out, you want to go in. You're going to fight yourself, you fight your heart. That's the most important stuff for us. So if you try to fight someone else, that means you're not strong enough. So that's why you want to prove it. You are strong. You want to prove it you're better. But you're not.
Stick around. More with Keanu and Tiger right after this.
All right, coming up.
It must be an interesting position for you to be in, to help choreograph and design, but in this film, you get to do. It must be so much more fun to be the guy throwing the punches.
Yes.
It must be an interesting position for you to be in, to help choreograph and design, but in this film, you get to do. It must be so much more fun to be the guy throwing the punches.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he had 14 scenes. I guess 11 of them were like fights.
Yeah.
And so it was really, I mean, you were the man. I mean, he got hit and hit and hit. And I was like, what about your double? And he'd be like, no double. And then I was just like, please. And I would always just go, because he was getting hit and hit, like 12 hours a day, 5 days, 7 days. And I'd always walk up and go like, Tiger, how are you? How are you doing? Really? Are you? But how are you doing?
I'm okay.
And then what do I do with that?
Yeah, what do you do with that?
I'm like, he's okay.
He says he's okay.
He says he's okay.
Did you ever pull him?
Whack, bang. I did it once, and then the guy, like, his double separated his shoulder.
You have to carry that now with you.
I do.
What a pleasure. Thank you so much, man. Tiger Chen, what an honor, sir. Thank you so much. The man of Tai Chi, Tiger, Keanu. We'll be right back.